class. So the topic of today is thesis statement. So, has anyone heard about a thesis statement before? Yeah? Okay. So when you think about thesis statement, what pops into your mind?
You're making an argument.
You're making an argument? Anyone else? Yeah.
It sets up the rest of your paper.
It sets up the rest of your paper. Yeah, that's great. You two are on the right track. So the thesis statement is that one sentence that usually appears at the beginning of your essay. So usually it's the last sentence of your introduction paragraph. And it's a really important sentence because that is a sentence where you directly respond to the question that is being asked. Something else that makes it really important is that in that sentence is where you're going to make your claim and your argument for the rest of your paper. So that is where you take your position and you basically answer the question, right? And something even more important to note is that every thesis statement is going to be different because we all interpret the material in a different way. So you might be looking at your thesis statement and you believe that that did not happen, but the other person believes that it does, and that's okay because we interpret things in a different manner. And every thesis statement is subjective. So the thesis statement is going to serve as your guide and as your map for the rest of your paper. Because when you're writing, you have to make sure that everything else that you're writing in the rest of your paper is going to directly relate to your thesis statement. So it's really good to always keep in mind and make sure that all the connections are there. So for example, I wrote this in the board just to help you guide your paper. So in the middle, you're going to write the thesis statement. And then you have the supporting paragraphs. So you have to make sure that the topic sentences and the supporting evidence all directly correlate with the thesis statement. And if you're ever writing and you notice that your 3 other paragraphs don't really connect to your thesis statement, that's fine because it's your paper and you can be flexible and you can change the thesis statement to be whatever you want it to be because it's your paper, right? So writing a thesis statement is not an easy task. You're probably gonna have to sit down and really reflect on what you're talking about. So I have some questions to help you guide the process. So whenever you're done writing your thesis statement, just ask them just to make sure you're on the right track. So the first one is, did I answer the question? Because as I said before, the thesis statement is supposed to directly answer the question. The second one is my thesis statement an argument? Does it take a position? Because other people are supposed to be able to challenge and oppose your thesis statement. And then the last one is it too broad or is it too specific? Because you want to give the right amount of information for your readers to help them know what your paper is going to be talking about. And we're going to be writing an exposition paper, so that means that you're going to be explaining something to your audience. And we're going to write it on the Scarlet Letter because that's the novel that we've been reading in class. And something really important to note is that when you're writing about literature, you always have to include the name of the work of literature that you're working on. So for example, the Scarlet Letter, and you also want to include the name of the author. So for in our example, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Okay, so I just said a lot of things, so now we're gonna put it into practice. So I have 2 thesis statements here. We're gonna read them out loud, and then we're gonna decide which one is a stronger thesis statement, or which one is a weaker thesis statement. So who wants to read the first one? Yes.
In Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, Reverend Dimsdale practices Christianity.
Thank you. And who wants to read the second one?
In Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, Reverend Dimsdale does not behave like a true Christian during the Puritan age.
Okay, so raise your hand if you think this is the weaker thesis statement. Okay, good. So raise your hand if you think this is the weaker thesis statement. Okay, so can anyone explain to me why it's weaker? Yeah.
So it doesn't really carry an argument and it doesn't take a position. It's more factual and also it's pretty broad.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just a fact. Like, he practices Christianity. Like, what's your argument there? What's your opinion? It's not really present. And it's also too broad because he just practices Christianity. You're not really saying anything important about the character. So for your assignment is that you're going to write down this thesis statement and you're going to work on it and you're going to improve it because every thesis statement requires a lot of work and there's always space for improvement, right? So you're going to write it down and fix it up. And I just did this mnemonic just to help you guide that process. So I'm going to say it and then you're going to repeat it, okay? So T is for take your time.
Take your time.
Hold your position.
Hold your position.
Emphasize your claim.
Emphasize your claim.
Go step by step.
Go step by step.
Include author and title.
Include author and title.
And strive for success. Don't settle for less.
Strive for success. Don't settle for less.
Okay, and if you have any questions, always feel free to come and ask me. So thank you all. See you you tomorrow.